I spent 3 weeks reading the back of every single butter tub in every major UK supermarket, and what I found should make you furious. 8 of these products are legally banned from calling themselves butter. Banned. And they are betting right now on the fact that you will never check. Legally banned from using the word and still sitting proudly in the butter aisle in butter-shaped packaging like they own the shelf. Here's the rule the industry desperately hopes you never learn. In the UK and EU, a product can only be labelled butter if it contains at least 80% milk fat. That's not a marketing choice a brand opts into when it feels like it. It's the law. Fall short of that number and you're legally forced to slap spread, blend, or alternative onto the label somewhere. The industry has done the maths on you already though. They know almost nobody reads that fine print. They know you see a tub, you see a golden colour, you see it sitting in the butter aisle next to real butter, and your brain closes the case before your eyes even reach the ingredients. 12 products, 3 weeks, and one pattern that kept repeating itself in different disguises. Today, I'm exposing 8 products failing that legal test, each one running its own particular trick, and 4 that actually deliver what they promise. Starting at number 8, and this one is going to sting. First up, at number 8, Yeo Valley Organic Spreadable. Every brand on this list has a weapon. Yeo Valley's weapon is trust, and they built it over decades deliberately. Certified B Corporation, meaning they're legally required to answer for more than profit alone. Organic, from top to bottom. Farm imagery on every tub, practically begging you to believe you're buying straight from the pasture gate from people who genuinely care what ends up on your toast. That sounds harmless. Until you look closer at what the trust is actually covering for. 50% organic butter, 29% organic rapeseed oil. The rest is water, salt, and filler holding the texture together. Less than half of what you're spreading on your toast is actual dairy fat, yet you're paying an organic premium, often 20 to 30% more than a basic non-organic spread, for a tub where the majority of the contents aren't butter at all. Water, vegetable oils, and other ingredients make up the rest, meaning the price premium is tied more to how the product is positioned than to simply getting more actual dairy content. Work that out per gram of actual butterfat, and this is one of the worst value products on this entire list, premium branding included. None of this is illegal, and that's precisely the point. A brand doesn't need to lie to you once it's spent 20 years making sure you'll never check. This is the halo effect as a business model, not an accident of marketing. Earn the trust on one product over years, then quietly spend that same trust on a completely different formulation sitting 3 shelves along. Next, at number 7, Kerrygold Spreadable. Now compare that with a completely different mechanism, because Yeo Valley is selling you their reputation. This is a brand spending its own reputation against itself, which is a subtler kind of trick entirely. Kerrygold's block butter is one of the most respected grass-fed products sold in Britain. We're coming back to exactly why later, and it's worth the wait. This spreadable tub borrows that reputation wholesale without asking your permission. Same green fields on the packaging, same grass-fed promise, same golden pastoral imagery that sold you on the block in the first place. Stretched thin with rapeseed oil and water so it stays soft out of the fridge. Nothing on the front tells you it's different. Nothing warns you the ratio has shifted. But the more oil that's blended in, the further this product drifts from what that imagery was ever describing in the first place, and the brand is betting you won't do that comparison, standing in a cold aisle with a trolley full of shopping and a toddler asking to go home. This isn't a halo transferred from one brand to another like Yeo Valley's trick. It's a company quietly loaning its own credibility to a weaker version of itself and charging you the same trust premium for both as if the 2 tubs were interchangeable. Number 6 on the list. Aldi Nordpack Lighter Spreadable Butter. And that brings us to a trick that doesn't rely on reputation at all. It relies on a single word doing all the work, no brand history required. Lighter doesn't mean healthier, it means more water has been whipped into the fat structure to cut the calorie count per gram on paper, a formulation change dressed up as a health decision. But there's one detail you're probably missing, and it undoes the entire premise the label is selling you. A thin, watery, aerated spread doesn't satisfy the way real butter does, so people compensate by piling on more of it, quietly erasing whatever calorie saving the label was promising in the first place. You didn't outsmart the calories. You used more of a worse product to chase the same satisfaction half the amount of real butter would have given you in the first bite. And it gets worse the moment you actually cook with it, which the tub's imagery never warns you about. That extra water turns volatile in a hot pan, racing to boiling point long before the fat can behave the way real butter does, so the spread spits, splits, and fights you the whole way through frying an egg. It was engineered to look convincing cold, on toast, straight from the fridge. The second real heat enters the picture, the whole illusion falls apart, usually across your hob and your work surface. At number 5, I can't believe it's not butter original. Now watch what happens when you apply the same test to a product that's built its entire identity around admitting the trick outright, right there in the name. Read the name again, slowly. It's a confession printed directly into the branding. They're telling you this is not butter, and 40 years of relentless marketing has been engineered around making sure you forget that fact somewhere between the toaster and your plate. Legally, this sits nowhere near the 80% milk fat threshold, which is exactly why it has to call itself a spread rather than butter. So how does it get away with selling something this far from real butter at butter-adjacent prices for 4 decades straight without the whole thing collapsing under scrutiny? Not deception exactly. Imitation, engineered with real precision and real money behind it. Buttermilk is added largely for tang, echoing the flavor notes that develop naturally in real cream over time. Emulsifiers force water and oil to stay combined instead of separating in the tub on your worktop. Flavor compounds are formulated specifically in a lab to reproduce the rich, creamy taste people associate with real butterfat. This is a product built ingredient by ingredient to imitate something it never contains. And it's honest about that fact in the name while spending millions making absolutely sure you don't clock it at the till. Number 4, Clover Original. But then I found something completely different sitting one shelf over. A product that isn't hiding anything on the label today, and doesn't need to because the real deception happened decades ago and nobody's ever bothered correcting it since. Clover built its reputation in the 1980s and 90s on the idea that vegetable oil spreads were the responsible, heart-conscious alternative to butter's higher saturated fat content. A message repeated across adverts, magazine campaigns, and health-focused marketing that reshaped an entire generation's shopping habits, from breakfast tables to supermarket layouts. Vegetable spreads became the smarter choice. Butter got quietly filed under old-fashioned, something a responsible shopper was supposed to be cutting back on. Strip away that branding today, and what's actually in the tub is simply a vegetable oil-based spread. Never claimed to be dairy butter, technically honest on every count you can check. What should actually bother you is that the health halo built from that decades-old messaging is still doing the selling right now, on a shelf directly next to real butter, even though the nutritional science behind the original pitch has been substantially revised since. Nobody's forcing Clover to update that pitch. The assumption is still working for free, 30 years after the argument that built it started falling apart. At number 3, Flora Salted Block Butter Alternative, 200 grams. And this is where the next brand gets worse in a way nobody expects, because this one is actually telling you the truth on the label. The problem is entirely where they've chosen to put it. Credit where it's due. This is the most upfront product on the entire list. Butter Alternative is printed directly on the front of the pack, not buried in small text somewhere on the side. No dairy claim anywhere, no ambiguity to hide behind. Plant oils, coconut oil, water, salt, a faba bean preparation for texture, an emulsifier, flavoring, color, 100% plant-based and openly so. So why does it still land here instead of your safe list? Category confusion, engineered on purpose at every stage of production. This tub is shaped like a butter block, coloured like a butter block, and shelved, often at a price close enough to real butter to blur the mental maths, directly in the butter aisle, exactly where your brain switches to autopilot at the end of a long, tired shop. The faba bean addition genuinely solves a texture problem plant oils can't solve alone, getting the spread firm enough to hold its shape and slice like butter without turning brittle or crumbly. It's a clever formulation fix, credit where it's due again. It's also proof the product was engineered, shape, packaging, shelf placement, all of it, to blend seamlessly into a category it fundamentally doesn't belong in. Buy it on purpose, deliberately as dairy-free, and it's a genuinely fine product. Grab it on autopilot and you've just been quietly rerouted without ever noticing the detour. Number 2, Flora Buttery. Now compare the name of that last product with this one, because the difference between alternative and buttery is the entire trick, condensed into a single word choice. Alternative is a noun that draws a clear line. It tells you plainly what category you're in. Buttery is an adjective doing a noun's job, close enough to trick your eye at a glance, without technically lying to your face in a court of law. The ingredient list tells the same story in a single line. Vegetable oils, water, buttermilk, emulsifiers, citric acid, preservative, flavoring, added vitamins, and color. In other words, this is not simply butter with a few adjustments. It's a carefully formulated spread built from multiple ingredients, each added to control texture, stability, flavor, shelf life, and appearance. That buttermilk inclusion isn't an accident, and it's worth understanding exactly what it's doing there. It lets the label legally reference dairy, while actually containing only the thin, low-fat liquid left behind after real butter has already been churned out of the cream elsewhere in the process. The valuable part, the fat-rich cream itself, isn't in this tub at all. You're getting the industry's leftovers dressed up as a dairy credential on an ingredient list most people skim past. The added vitamins exist because stripping out real dairy fat also strips out the fat-soluble vitamins butter carries by default, so they're added back in synthetically, papering over exactly what the formulation removed in the first place. And that golden color you instinctively trust. Manufactured from a bottle, plant oil on its own is pale, almost grey, and deeply unappetizing on toast. This entire label is a naming exercise dressed up as an ingredient list. And finally, the worst on this list, number 1, Bertolli Light. This is the final entry, which runs the same trick as Flora Buttery, but at a scale that makes it the worst offender on this entire list, because the mismatch here isn't between the product and the aisle it sits in. It's between the product and its own name. This is the longest, most convoluted ingredient list I found across 3 weeks of research, and the length alone should tell you something. Water, rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, olive oil, coconut fat, modified starch, emulsifiers, a preservative, buttermilk, an acidity regulator, flavorings, added vitamins. 12 separate components, stitched together with real precision just to fake one product that traditionally needs exactly 2. Bertolli's entire identity, decades of it, an entire product range resting on it, comes down to a single word: olive oil. Italian heritage, Mediterranean health imagery, premium positioning that lets it charge more than half the other spreads on this list without anyone questioning it. Olive oil genuinely is on the label, so nobody can call this an outright lie. But it's buried as one ingredient among at least 5 different fats and oils, propped up with modified starch and an acidity regulator, purely to stop the whole unstable mixture separating on the shelf before its sell-by date. You're being sold an entire brand identity on the credibility of one ingredient that makes up a small fraction of what's actually sitting in the tub. Real butter is 2 things: cream and salt. This is a 5-oil emulsion wearing a name that describes one ingredient among many and charging you a premium for the association. Before we continue, I've spent years standing in supermarket aisles so you don't have to. The supermarket method is everything I've learned from hundreds of supermarket products, distilled into one simple guide you can use on every single shopping trip. Scan the QR code on your screen, grab your copy, and let's get back to the rankings. If this helped you make better decisions, subscribe and stay tuned, because the next 4 products are exactly why I kept doing this investigation in the first place. Now let's move on to the ones actually worth buying, starting with number 4, Aldi Specially Selected West Country Salted Butter. Now watch what happens when you apply the exact same scrutiny to a product that actually has nothing to hide from it. West Country isn't a nice-sounding regional name a marketing team dreamed up in a meeting. It's a protected designation of origin, legally tied to specific farming and production standards within that region, the same kind of legal protection that governs Champagne or Parma ham. A brand cannot legally slap that phrase on a tub without genuinely earning it through certified, auditable sourcing. Here's the part the premium brands really hope you never work out for yourself. Aldi sells this at a real, meaningful discount compared to Kerrygold and Yo Valley's own block butters. While sourcing from the exact same protected origin region, those premium names lean on for a huge share of their credibility and their pricing power. The lower price here isn't a red flag. It's simply Aldi's leaner retail model, smaller product range, and lower margin approach applied honestly to a genuinely high-standard product. No butter-shaped plant-based tricks, no health halo marketing doing the heavy lifting a formulation can't back up, no famous name quietly inflating the price without adding anything to what's actually inside the tub. Just the product, priced honestly, standing entirely on its own merits. At number 3, Yo Valley Organic Butter. And here's the direct comparison worth making, because this is the same brand name that put a product on your avoid list 8 positions ago in this exact video. This is the block, not the spreadable tub we tore apart earlier. And the gap between those two products from the exact same company, sitting on the exact same shelf, is precisely why one earned your trust and the other spent it without asking. Organic cream, salt. Nothing else added, no dilution, no oil, no story that needs untangling before you can actually trust it. And organic here isn't a vague, feel-good word doing emotional work on a label. It's audited, certified, and specific in ways you can actually check. No routine antibiotic use permitted across the herd, no synthetic pesticide or herbicide application allowed anywhere on grazing land. Mandatory outdoor grazing access built directly into the certification requirements, not offered as an optional extra a farm can quietly skip in a bad financial year. The spreadable tub borrowed this brand's name and traded on it. This is the product that actually built that name in the first place, one harvest at a time. Number 2, Kerrygold Pure Irish Butter. Same test, same brand split as Kerrygold Spreadable earlier in this list. And the gap between the two products is not small by any measure once you actually compare them side by side. Kerrygold's cows graze on open grass for close to 10 months of the year, a direct result of Ireland's unusually mild, consistently wet climate. A genuinely rare feeding pattern that most competitors, including several premium British brands, simply cannot replicate, because their local climate forces them onto grain supplementation for a much bigger chunk of the calendar year. That extended grazing period isn't just a pleasant detail for a marketing brochure. It's directly responsible for 2 measurable differences you can actually see and taste in the finished product. The noticeably deep golden colour comes from natural beta-carotene absorbed straight from fresh pasture grass, not from any colour additive added afterward in a factory somewhere. And Kerrygold consistently tests higher for conjugated linoleic acid than grain-fed competitors, a beneficial fatty acid compound that only properly builds up in dairy fat under genuinely sustained pasture grazing, not something any brand can fake simply by rebranding a grain-fed product with greener packaging and a field on the label. 2 ingredients on the label, cream and salt, sitting on top of an entire agricultural calendar that competitors can copy in packaging design, but cannot replicate in actual farming practice. And finally, the best on this list, number 1, Dutchy Organic English Salted Butter. This is the one product on this entire list where nothing needs explaining away and nothing needs untangling before you can trust what's in front of you. None of the other 11 products on this list can claim an origin story anywhere close to this one. Dutchy Organic began as King Charles's own organic farming initiative, launched directly from the Duchy of Cornwall estate specifically to prove that full-scale organic British farming could genuinely work at commercial volume, long before the brand was eventually folded into Waitrose's wider supply chain. That history isn't just interesting trivia to mention in passing. It's the actual reason the sourcing here traces back to one single, consistent organic farming philosophy established from day one, rather than being assembled seasonally from whichever certified farms happen to have supply available in a given year. The ingredients are the exact same 2 words you'll find on both the Kerrygold and Yo Valley block butters: cream and salt, nothing more. But the traceability sitting behind those 2 words is the tightest of anything currently on a UK supermarket shelf. Every other product on this list made you choose between price, ethics, and quality. This is the one where you genuinely don't have to. 12 butters. 8 of them running their own version of the same underlying trick. borrowing a word, a reputation, or a shelf position they haven't fully earned, each one doing it in a slightly different way. 4 of them still meaning it, cream and salt. Nothing standing in between the promise and the product. The next time you're standing in that aisle, flip the tub before you check the price tag. If that ingredient list runs past 2 items, you're not buying butter. You're buying a formulation decision the manufacturer made for you months ago in a boardroom, dressed up to look like a choice you made yourself standing in the aisle with a trolley. Check your fridge right now. If this opened your eyes, like the video, tell me in the comments which one shocked you the most and subscribe, because next episode we're doing the exact same investigation into olive oil. And honestly, it's worse than you think.